And
sad to report that mine's a paper cup, unlike Julia's classy glass.
oh man.
That's really sad, Stephen. We need to invest in some glasses there.
We're on the 5th floor. I should have just went upstairs and got one.
Working at events since 2005, I've always been inspired by people coming together to share ideas. I'm Amanda Younger, and I'll be your host on Happy Hour, where I share a drink and a laugh with guests over stories and our hope for the future of the live event experience. Today I'm speaking with Stephen Covello, Director of Partnerships and Key Donors, Julia Cordry, Special Events Coordinator, and Emmett Findley, Director of Communications over at God's Love We Deliver. You can find them at glwd.org and find out more during this segment about how to be a part of that mission. A special thank you to West Cork Distillers for the small batch 8-year single malt. You can find them at westcorkdistillers.com. Their new distillery and visitor center will open in 2020, making them the largest wholly Irish-owned distillery in the country. I had them with a wonderful highball action, and it is delicious. Be sure to continue the conversation with us online at eventspeak.com. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio, and favorite us on Stitcher to get all upcoming episodes and help others find our show. Review and give us a rating on YouTube. Love as much feedback as possible in our early stages, and a promotional giveaway is in the works, so check back in soon. Together, we can make the difference in live events.
Hey, I'm Stephen Covello with God's Love We Deliver and Director of Partnerships and Key Donor.
Julia Cordry, also with God's Love. I'm the Special Events Coordinator.
I'm actually having the High Priest of Tall Drinks. I'm having the Highball. It was actually invented in Manhattan's Ashland House back in 1890. It actually began as a whiskey drink, but soon became less exclusive, and you can add whatever you want. So 2 ounces of liquor, 4 ounces of club seltzer or club soda, ginger ale. Anyways, you just want lots and lots of bubbles, and basically a harder hard seltzer than what's sold in the can is what I am drinking today. Stephen, Julia, what are you guys having today?
Julia.
I'm just having some rosé. I feel like I'm cocktail maxed out at this point. Like between all of like those happy hour and Zoom cocktail hours, I whatever's easiest.
I love it.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Well, I am sadly drinking out of a paper cup, as you can see here. And the contacts are keeping it simple along with what Julia said, vodka tonic. I really wanted in preparation for this to have a Negroni, and then I realized I don't have 3 of the 4 things I need for a Negroni right now. So I just kind of referred back to my keep it simple vodka tonic in a paper cup.
I just put alcohol in a plastic cup, and I'm just continuing on.
Yeah, I hope to.
Well, folks at God's Love We Deliver, thanks for coming on Happy Hour.
We're happy to be
Cheers.
here.
Right,
Cheers. Cheers.
Well,
that's how every day should end.
it should.
And begin.
Yes.
And begin. All right now.
That's a
All
special
right now,
days.
Julia.
But we've been doing a fundraiser together for a few years over at God's Love We Deliver. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about basically your mission? But we really want to talk about kind of the stories of fundraising past, because we've had our own fundraiser joint, but then you guys have done fundraisers at people's homes, at theaters. I almost see you guys everywhere. Tell me how those are.
I guess I'll start, and then maybe Julia can pick up. But for 35 years, we've basically been providing nutritionally tailored meals to people living with illness. So, as I say, the commonality of the people that we serve is everyone is living with some sort of an illness. In many cases, it's more than one illness. We custom prepare, cook, and home deliver the meals to our clients' homes. They are living with cancer, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, severe diabetes, HIV/AIDS, We started out in '85 as an HIV/AIDS only organization as a direct response to the HIV/AIDS pandemic.
Yeah.
And
that's right. It was a nurse, right? A nurse that started.
No, it was actually our founder, Ganga Stone, who actually owned a coffee cart on wheels. So she would, be able to. Oh, today I feel like serving. I'd like to serve the coffee on this corner. Anyway, long story short, there's lots of. I think also in the beginning, there's some. Emmett probably could provide much clearer picture, but as far as how we got started, but I believe it was a coffee cart, and she was connected through a mutual friend about a man named Richard Sales, who was ill and needed help with getting him food, and that was the first official client of God's Love We Deliver. Before we had a kitchen, before we had a delivery vehicle, before we had staff, before we had volunteers. So that's kind of how we got started. And this past year, which was our 34th year, we delivered 2.2 million meals in our fiscal year. Wow. So from one meal with one woman, delivering to one man, to an organization now with 110, 115 people, 17,000 annual volunteers. Yeah.
And that takes first off, a huge, I'm going to toast to the work you guys do. And the people that you touch and help every day. Fantastic.
So good.
But then also, to deliver at that scale, to be able to have elevated from one good deed for one person in need to, this much people getting served, it must take so many resources, must take so much labor, time, and of course, events like ours to help you guys get donations and kind of raise more money so that you can continue those services. How's it worked in the past, and kind of now that we're in the COVID situation, with so many places shut down and public gatherings also closed, how are you guys adjusting to, for our fundraising events that we normally do? How are you guys pivoting? How you doing?
Well, before I'm gonna let Julia, ask Julia to answer that question, I want to just explain something that's happening here on the screen.
Okay.
So I'm wearing this mask, and underneath the mask, the breath is fogging up my glasses, and I see that Emmett is sending chats to the three of us and correcting me on things that I said that were not accurate, but I couldn't see them without my glasses. And now that I put my glasses on, my glasses are fogged up. So Gongo was a hospice worker. And I think we should invite Emmett back in, and let's make this a four-way party. Emmett, if you're ready, willing, and able, which I believe you are, maybe you can come on in.
To make it very gay, I have my Brandy Carlisle poster in the background.
Of course you do.
Because I got to be on brand.
That's right.
How can I help?
I keep seeing, as you probably, I didn't know if you heard, but I kept seeing text, and I'm like,
same time.
Amanda, do you need our founding story, perhaps?
I would love it.
Okay, so do I look right into the camera? I guess I do.
You look great.
Talk to us, Emmett.
Okay. So God's Love We Deliver began in 1985 at the height of the AIDS pandemic. We were started by a woman named Ganga Stone. She was a hospice worker, and she went and visited a man named Richard Sale, who was very sick and living with and dying from AIDS. She goes to his house and she asks him, Richard, what do you need? And he said, I'm hungry. And, he was he was wasting. He couldn't do anything for himself. So she went out to the local bodega. She got some groceries and she brought them back to him. She left them on the counter and she said, I'll be back to check on you tomorrow. You then. She goes back the next day and she notices that the groceries have been left untouched. She goes, Richard, what's going on? I got you all this food. Yeah, what's going on? And he said, well, I'm too sick. I can't even open the packaging. How can I possibly cook for myself?
Right.
So she realized that she had this epiphany. What you really need when you're that sick, when you can't do anything for yourself, is you need a home-cooked, delicious, nourishing meal delivered right to your door, so that the only thing you have to do with that is eat it. So she went out and she went to a local restaurant, Claire, and she said, the best thing on your menu, that's what I'm bringing to my friend Richard tonight. And she started doing that more and more and going to local restaurants, again, getting the best thing on the menu for her friends who were living with and dying from AIDS. And she started doing this and other people started doing this. And that's the real grassroots founding. But underneath all of that is also how God's Love We Deliver got our name. So Ganga Stone continues delivering. She's known around the neighborhood as this woman delivering food to and fro all the time. And one day a priest stops her on the street and he says, where are you going with this food? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Said, what are you doing? Hello.
Doing.
And she says, I'm delivering food to a very sick friend. And he said, no, what you're doing is you're delivering God's love. And she said, aha, that's the name. So that's how God's Love We Deliver came about. We're a non-sectarian organization, so you can believe or not believe in anything. But if you really take our name and take God's love and maybe replace that with unconditional love, I think that's what God's Love We Deliver is. It's food as medicine. It's food as love. It is that one-to-one contact of being a smile and a meal and a hello on the other side of a door for someone who's vulnerable and isolated and very, very sick. And it all started in 1985, and here we are 35 years later.
Wow. Yes.
And now we know why he's the director of communications.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you can tell Emmett's memorized the story.
Absolutely.
There was no reading of anything.
No. Do you need any statistics?
Said that many, many times.
Many times.
That's great.
Many times.
Do you guys have any crazy stories from fundraisers in the past?
Oh my God.
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Maybe things Julia can't talk about.
Julia, why don't you touch on last year's Ride for Love?
Oh my goodness. So as you mentioned, Amanda, we do so many different types of events, like all over the board. Last year, so we do a bike ride every year that we do partnered with our friends at Douglas Elliman Real Estate. And last year was a little bit complicated because we joined a ride in Long Island called the Rides Montauk, which actually starts at Penn Station. And there's options. You don't have to cycle from Penn Station to Montauk, although 4 of our people did, which is insane. But you can choose between like a 50-mile, 25, to 75. Anyway, like logistically, it was a bit of a nightmare because people had to have their bikes transported to wherever they were starting. We had to make sure everyone was at the right start line. I mean, it was a little bit insane. And so like we left the city, I think probably around 4 a.m. Stephen, myself, and one of our friends from Douglas Elliman. And we're in the car and we go around, we get to the first stop, which I think was, where was the first? Where was the 75?
Like Queens. I think it was right in the tip of Queens before you get to Long Island.
Yeah. And then we made each stop and we got to the 50-mile stop, which is when the car broke down.
Oh no.
And it was, I kind of just shut down at that point, where you just have a moment, you're just like,
True.
Okay, I'm like, shut down. But we found this lovely woman who jump-started the car. It was crazy. Like,
you even had coffee yet at this hour?
Oh, yeah.
Already, yeah. It was definitely a day. And then, we got back on the road. And then, I'm just like, oh, God. like, please no one get hurt. Like, I wasn't happy until the last person, because there was about 60 people doing this. I wasn't happy until the last person came across the finish line in Montauk, and then I was just like, and there's actually a really great picture of me that it was captured the moment when the last person, it's just like me being like,
are people actually like bicycling on like the Long Island Expressway?
Yes.
No.
Not
like,
the expressway.
Like,
no, it goes
what
through.
Julia left out, a very important part, is that we're driving in the van as support people, like driving slowly along, make sure no one falls off their bike, and an ambulance goes by and nobody says anything, right? There's three or four of us in the car. No one says a word. We keep chugging along, and then another ambulance goes by, and I said, okay, guys, am I the only one that's thinking that? Please, God, that's not one of our riders. That the
thank goodness it wasn't.
Oh,
thank
but
you.
we were all like in silence, being
this
like,
is supposed to be a funny story. This is gonna get dark.
No, there was no darkness. Although we did, funnily enough, a week later, after we've had our debrief and everything, I suddenly get a call from one of the people who signed up riding, who's being like, oh, I just left my bike somewhere. Like, I had an emergency. I had to run off. So I left my bike at the bike store where the 50 miles started. And they haven't returned it to me. I was like, no. The bike was supposed to be transported from the Montauk all the way in. I was like, oh my God, I've lost this person their bike. But then I called up the bike store and they're like, yeah, we found it left outside. So we've just been having it we just had it in our store, like waiting for someone to come pick it up. So I was like,
crazy.
All right.
Crazy.
It all works out at the end.
Somebody left their bicycle here. We're just going to bring it inside. I don't know, lost and found? I don't know whose it is.
And that was last year was the year that event, which was in its seventh year since we started that fundraiser and that event, where we broke the $1 million mark of fundraising, which was amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
So there was a big celebratory aspect of it as well.
Wow.
And now this year we're trying to work out how to make it virtual.
Yes.
Or at least do like small groups, or like people do it in their own time. Like, we're still trying to figure all of this out, I feel like.
I mean, the good thing about being on a bicycle is it's not, a bicycle for two. It's a bicycle for one.
That's true.
No, but that's pretty.
And believe it or not, Emmett rode the first year. Right, going over the bridge in New Jersey.
That's generous. I like attempted the first year, but everybody knows I didn't get farther than 40 miles.
Seaside Heights, I'll never forget it, going over the bridge.
It was very windy that particular day, and there were a lot of hills, and let's be honest, I did not train the way I needed to. No, it's a mess.
Yep.
Here's to every person who's
great fun.
Oh my goodness. Well, so if you guys are thinking about how to adjust the bike race, just kind of like in general, how are you guys adjusting your events, your fundraising events? I mean, I know Savor Pride was a digital dining experience, and that was fantastic.
Well, I have to say, I'm really proud.
Was an enormous hit. Congratulations, everyone.
Really
Our
proud.
chefs had a blast. Audience had a blast. My phone was blowing up all week.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I think that was, I know. And that was our first dive into the virtual experience. And so I think we've kind of we have a grasp of what we need now. I thought that was what was really great about Savor, was that it was almost as interactive as how it was at God's Love. So in the past 3 years, we've just had people in our space, in our demo kitchen, doing our stuff. But what was really cool about this Savor Pride was being able to see in the chef's home, because you don't normally see that. And I thought that was really cool. And I remember my mom texting me throughout all of it, being like, this is so cool. I love seeing inside their kitchens. I love seeing how they're doing stuff and what they're using. And I'm not a chef myself, so I didn't think about it until my mom said that. And then I was like, actually, that's pretty cool experience to be able to see inside a chef's
Mom's
home.
approval.
Yeah. Hey, mom's
Still
loving
trying.
It was great. I think we had one of them was definitely a chef in Brooklyn. You could tell because it was a tiny, tight little kitchen, and we were like living their best life, living their best life in Williamsburg,
Yes.
and you know it.
Totally.
Maybe Bushwick, but it
Totally.
looked like Williamsburg. It was like a tiny
Yeah.
kitchen, roommate going by, and you're just kind of like, well done.
Exactly. Like you can't, it was like all the stuff that like we think about in terms of like that we now have to think about when we're doing these virtual events. And you always have that moment like, oh my God, what if someone walks in? What if like the sound cuts out, all that stuff? And it's like, that kind of just makes it what it is. Like things don't have to be so polished anymore.
Right. Especially
I think
right
in
now.
the virtual world, better not polished.
Exactly.
Right?
Like I feel
It's
like
a realness.
it's
You're
more...
connecting to somebody. You're connecting to someone in their kitchen, as you said. It's like this the real deal. Real deal.
It's an intimate feeling. It's different than somebody showing up, at the kitchen at God's Love. You're just kind of like, oh, who is this? And what are they making? And then instead it was them at home, and you immediately knew who they were.
Yep.
Because you felt it, because you were in their home and you were in their kitchen, and now the meal that they were making was a personal meal rather than, I am here to display this cuisine for you. Yeah. It was definitely like, I like to make this at home. This is what you can do at home. This is me. Their identity was given immediately.
Yeah. And very similar to this call, Amanda, there was a cocktail element.
There's always a cocktail element.
Is there a theme
We're moving on along on the highball here.
Emmett, do you have a drink?
No, I only have my bowl of mac and cheese, but that's very on brand for me.
I mean, cheese is very happy. This is
it's very happy.
Makes me happy. So,
what are you thinking? We're heading into recovery. I know some parts of the nation are kind of where we were a couple months ago. But New York and where we are right now, and especially the area that you guys are covering your services, we're in phase 3, and then hopefully phase 4 will be coming. So as we start our reopening and our recovery, what are you guys preparing for or expecting for like your fundraisers, as they come?
I think it's really a work in progress. For me personally, there's a certain sad side to the virtual process because I really look forward to the events and seeing our supporters and friends like you, Amanda, and even each other. I mean, like right now, as an example, we're all in 4 separate locations, which normal circumstances, Julia, Emmett, and I would all be together. And so for me, just personally, involved in events, getting used to this concept of virtual. But if anything, I feel like Savor Pride really proved that you could do something virtual and it to be a success, and for people to get inside of, Renee's kitchen, or to see what one of them might be drinking while they're cooking their dinner or our dinner. That to me, I mean, I don't know what you feel about that, Julia. I mean, like, I miss the human interaction, even though it's been 3 or 4 months now. I miss it already.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, I think I'm trying not to plan too far in advance right now. Like we are talking about our gala, and we're moving forward with kind of what we have, what we think is going to be okay in December. Like we pushed it back to December, and we're now looking at different, like using multiple venues, which is really cool. but at the same time, it's like you just don't know what's going to happen between now and December. Like, so I'm trying to be, I think what this has taught me is definitely how to be flexible, because like you're just constantly having to navigate what the city is telling you, what the state is telling you, and what the government is telling you, which seems to be all three different things at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're just trying to like to navigate those, and just to be flexible and go with it, which to me is like kind of exciting, but also very stressful.
Listen, I think it's like this is almost the perfect moment for event professionals like yourself, Julia, and Amanda and Stephen, because it's all about flexibility and creativity. And I feel like if you can succeed in virtual events, you can really do anything. And it's exciting to know, like, to just think about what God's Love We Deliver has in store, because we've got great ideas and we've got great people who all want to make a difference, and we'll just figure out this new way together.
And I have to say, the one amazing thing that I'm finding about virtual events is that they're just so much more inclusive. Most of our fundraisers, like, you would only, I mean, depending what fundraiser it is, like you have between like 50 and 300, 400 people, and it's all and like some of them are very, very exclusive. And I feel like now you can actually be a lot more inclusive. Yes, you might not be fundraising to the same extent that you would, but you're opening yourself up to an entirely new audience of people who can come and join in and give money here, give money there. And I just feel like it's been nice to see some of these like virtual galas and stuff like that, and being able to be part of something that, like, I probably wouldn't be going to. So I think that's been a really nice side of it, definitely.
Yeah. I think we all miss getting super dolled up.
Yes, I miss that. Honestly, I miss getting dressed up, and I never thought I would say that, but I really do.
It's part of the ritual of like, okay, it is showtime.
Yes.
And I feel like as an event professional, you plan, you're super organized, and you're kind of rigid. Like, you move a little bit, and then when you're on site, it's like this ritual of like, I'm going to let go of all of my organization, all of the planning. It's all going to be caught on fire, and I'm about to be a flexible person when I walk in. And you do. Like, you go to the event and you're like, I'm here to improvise as we go. Everything I planned, I throw out the window.
Absolutely.
And then, like, sure
Exactly.
enough, it comes in and it's like, I didn't get the emails, like the 5 emails you sent me. I didn't see them. And I'm like, really? Because this says I sent them all. And they're like, oh, we forgot all of that stuff. And you're like, cool. All right. Let's work with what you got. Blue napkins.
Like when you pulled,
go with blue napkins. Let's go. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you pulled up for the first year at Savor Pride in front of God's Love We Deliver with the van filled with the liquor, and you and I unloaded it. Or Julia, you were here?
Yes.
That? You were here.
Yeah, I
All
was.
of us are unloading the liquor from the van.
You guys are like, so is everybody outside? And I go, I'm there, everybody. And you're welcome.
I remember that. You just showed up with all the booze. That was a fun man.
Beep, beep.
That was fun.
On the side of the road, next to the street meat cart.
That is something that I don't miss about in-person events. Is like the 3 a.m. Ubers to bringing like all, when like last minute, like, oh, I've got to get all of this from point A to point B. Like I mean, my Uber rating is so low because of events. Like,
You tried to fit what in my trunk?
They show up, they pull up at God's Love, and there I am. Like last year, we were trying to get to Stonewall Inn, and I show up. I've got like a carpet and all of our stanchions and all of our posters. And I'm like, hi, can you take me literally 10 minutes away to the Stonewall Inn, please? They hate it.
Stonewall Inn, that was a good one. That was a good one. Really good one.
And we had the event right outside their door, and they were like, hey, we're doing one too right outside our door. We're like, neat. And they're like, same day. And we went, cool.
Very cool.
See you on that day. See you on Friday. And they're like, me, okay.
Or you guys were planning something in Hudson Yards on that that balcony of that event. You know, that event space that it wasn't safe, and so you guys had to change venue 2 weeks before that.
Yeah. And we were also, we also had 2 events in a venue that their construction permit was pulled from the Department of Buildings. That was neat. So they were like, we will not be done in time for 2 of your parties that you have already sold tickets to, because we said that you could find another place.
Oh.
So we were like, well, that's going to be difficult because one of those parties is actually called Rooftop. And most all rooftops in New York are either really small or
expensive.
They're already booked.
It's this summer in New York. Like,
we need to open in 2 weeks. I've got 1,500 people coming to a rooftop that is I had so many emails like, the ticket said it was this place that says that it's closed. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's
God.
Avenger. Come find us. We're in a completely different spot. Didn't get the email, did you? No. Sent it. 5 of them. Yeah.
Event stories. I mean, we could literally.
We could, and we probably should at another time. We could do this again, especially to see how you guys have done once the phases go back to where we are. Hopefully, there's a vaccination. We can go back to normal. What is
God willing?
Maybe I want a new normal, and what is that? And maybe we can get together and talk about it, and that'd be great.
Well, we're not a shy group. We're not a shy group.
I know. Okay, so before we go, I want you guys to tell the people where to go. Any upcoming fundraisers that they need to check on, and where should they keep going to learn more about Emmett, Stephen, and Julia?
In that order, Emmett.
Yes.
All right, everyone. You can visit us online at godslovewedeliver.org. You can also find us on Instagram at godslovenyc. A TikTok will be happening in the future, just not yet. And our next event is, I don't know, Julia, take it away.
Yeah.
Our next event is TBD. We're still working on it.
TBD.
We'll keep you updated. Like, we'll just keep visiting our site and we'll have updates on what's going on, what's happening.
Right.
We'll have a few smaller things throughout the summer. And then, who knows?
Sounds like a gala later. I don't know.
A gala in December. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any last words, Stephen?
I would just say, I think I can speak on behalf of our whole team that we're really grateful to know you. We're really grateful for the wonderful partnership that we've had and expanded on with you and Sean and David and the whole team, from the march, to Savor Pride, which I feel like really has, like, this year has come into its own. And all the work that you do for our community. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate the friendship, and look forward to working with you guys on a whole bunch of stuff.
And how you guys managed to turn Pride into a virtual thing in the space of weeks was unbelievable. I don't know how you did it.
Pretty well.
It was perfect.
Right.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Incredible.
Like, there's something to be said, be able to celebrate Pride from home. It was definitely needed this year, and I thought that was it was wonderful. Yeah. So congrats.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, and we did we made sure that the fireworks that always happen out at the pier still continued, but by city ordinance, it was how can you do a massive, beautiful fireworks show that doesn't create a public gathering? And that's put a 20-minute show into 5 minutes. And so it was basically just a grand finale of exploding everything in the harbor.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Love it. Love it.
Everyone was like, what's going on? And now it's over. And you're like, that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Longest running. Longest running.
You don't have to stand there and wait forever.
Amazing.
Oh, well, thank you
amazing.
so much for joining me today. And
thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I will send all of those things. Graphics will zoom in and they'll be super pretty, and we will send people your way. And for all of us here at Event Speak, thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Good night.
Thank you.
Cheers.